Welcome back, beautiful, beloved souls. As you know, I've been doing a series about my life, about surviving violence and abuse, and this is episode 4. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gem, Jem, Gemstone, and I'm a psychic medium and I'm an author. And on this channel, you will find various content. So this is episode 4, Addiction and the Violent Drug World. Before we get into it, content warning. This video discusses addiction, violence, threats with weapons, and sexual assault. Viewer discretion is advised. I'm sharing this part of my life to show the reality of addiction and the dangerous environments that often surround it. Introduction. By this stage of my life, the trauma I had experienced for years had begun to shape my choices in ways I didn't fully understand at the time. What followed from 2004 was a 17-year period of addiction. My drugs of choice were mostly stimulants, methamphetamine, ice, cocaine, and sometimes hallucinogens, although most of the time it was uppers that kept me trapped in that world. Addiction itself is destructive, but what people often don't see is the violent environment that surrounds the drug trade. That world can be extremely dangerous. A world where violence is normal. During those 17 years, I saw many people die. Some deaths were overdoses. Others were suspected murders. In that environment, people sometimes disappear over drug debts, accusations of theft, or simply because someone crossed the wrong person. Fear becomes part of everyday life. Many times, men threatened to kill me. There were periods where I was so frightened that I barely left my home for weeks at a time. Weapons in my home. One of the most terrifying moments happened when 2 men came into our home carrying rifles and shotguns. They were angry about drugs they believed were not up to the standard they expected. They took Rob with them and forced him to confront someone they believed was responsible. For a long time, I had no idea where Rob had gone or whether he was alive. In the drug world, situations like that can end very badly. Rob taken and beaten. Another time, a large amount of marijuana went missing from someone connected to Rob's workplace. Rob was taken by 2 men who believed he might know something about it. He was beaten while they tried to force information from him. Later, it turned out he had nothing to do with it. But in that world, accusations often come before the truth. The gun at my door. There was also a time a man accused me of stealing money. The truth was, He wanted my prescribed medication. He came into my home carrying a gun. I was asleep at the time. Rob managed to calm him down and convince him to leave temporarily. Once he was gone, Rob locked the door and made sure he couldn't come back. Moments like that leave a permanent mark on your nerves. You never know when someone might appear again. Blamed for an overdose. And this person, sadly, was a young guy who died. So it was another dangerous situation happened after a young man died from a massive overdose. His cousin blamed us, even though we were not responsible. In that environment, blame can be enough to put your life in danger. Because of the threats that followed, we were forced to leave our home quickly, abandoning possessions worth a lot of money. For quite some time, we became homeless. Constant theft and exploitation. During those years, we were robbed many times. Prescription medication was stolen repeatedly. In the drug world, medication is as valuable as cash. Looking back now, I also question how much of that environment involved people close to me. Addiction creates secrecy and betrayal in ways that are difficult to understand while you are living through it. What I do know is that thousands of dollars disappeared over the years through theft, manipulation, and pressure. I'll talk about my beloved Rob. Violence towards Rob. Now, Rob is no longer with us. We know this. I started the channel because of Rob dying. When he was alive, Rob himself was assaulted many times. In one incident, a fentanyl patch he was wearing for medical reasons, a man experiencing a drug-induced psychosis attacked him violently. He could have murdered him. Around 30 people were present, but no one stepped in. In that world, people often watch violence happen without interfering because they are afraid of becoming the next target or because they were implicit. They were all after Rob's patch. Now I want to talk about danger after Rob died. After Rob died, I found myself even more vulnerable. Because I had previously helped someone connected to the drug trade, certain people made sure I wasn't immediately targeted. But that protection was very fragile. I was still using prescribed opioids for medical reasons, which meant people often came to my door asking for my pills. Sometimes I allowed people to stay in my home because I didn't want them to turn away. That kindness was often taken advantage of. I was robbed, manipulated, and at times assaulted. I was even sexually assaulted. This only happened 6 years ago. Let's talk about betrayal and loss. One of the most painful betrayals involved someone I trusted to care for my dogs while I travelled to Prince Charles Hospital in Brisbane to be with Rob while he was dying. So he was in palliative care. Instead of caring for my dogs, she locked them in a room for days without food or water and went through the house stealing whatever she could find. Moments like that showed me how little trust existed in that environment. I want to talk about the time we were homeless. So homelessness. At one point, the danger around us became so serious that Rob and I had to leave behind our home completely. We left possessions. We left a lot of money behind because we couldn't take it. We abandoned our belongings and lived without a stable home for quite a period of time. It was survival mode. Sorry, this is heavy. The reality of addiction. Looking back now, addiction was not just about the drugs. It was about the world those drugs placed us in. A world where weapons appeared in your living room, where accusations could put your life in danger, where people disappeared, and where trust was almost impossible. Every day carried a risk. Reflection. Despite everything that happened during those 17 years, I held on to certain personal rules. I held on to my ethics. I never stole from anyone, but in that environment, simply trying to survive could still place you in constant danger. It would take many years before I finally reached the point where I decided that my life had to change. And guys, you've helped with that change. This channel started, first I was a drug addict when I started this channel. I am no longer. I've been clean for 5 years. And you guys have helped me by just being there on the other side. Like me uploading videos has helped me want to be a better person. So thank you. A lot of gratitude. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about the turning point that eventually led me away from addiction and how the death of my husband Rob forced me to confront the life I had been living. That moment became the beginning of my path towards freedom. Again, thank you very much, beloved souls, for watching, and I would ask that you have looked at my other episodes. So this is episode 4. Episode 1 was about growing up in a dysfunctional, toxic family. Episode 2 was about my teenage years, and episode 3 was about what happened to me in my 30s. I also going to add on to here because there is a gap. So please stay with me because I'm going to tell you about in between. So I've been married. Rob was my 4th husband. Each marriage, the shortest, last 5 years. So they were quite significant marriages. Everyone in some way was abusive, and in between marriages, men still took advantage of my vulnerability. So I would go on dates, looking to find my soulmate, my loved one, and it was like stranger danger. Men just, the amount of non-consensual sex that's been forced on me. And, it's not just men. There's a period in my life where I've been assaulted by women. One who I thought was my friend. Remember, I shared the story of being homeless? Well, temporarily, I lived with her for a little while, and while I was sleeping, at this time, I was separated from Rob because he couldn't live there. It was just a 1-bedroom. He was trying to get clean. The amount of times he tried to get clean. Anyway, there was only the one bed, and I had another mental breakdown. And while I was sleeping, because I was so exhausted, she used that time, and I didn't know I was exhausted. And so it's not just men, it's women. And I didn't realize, this is very important too. I started the drug addiction because I was in my 3rd marriage, and a friend of that ex-husband was being accused of using drugs and, being a nasty kind of person. And I thought, well, I can't judge. My belief is don't judge until you've walked in another's shoes. And how did I know? And he actually said to me, Jem, if you try it, you'll like it and you won't stop. And I did try it and I did like it and I didn't stop. But I didn't realize that I was using drugs to cover up pain and trauma. And as I've shared with you before, I have borderline personality disorder and PTSD, and I have tried during my 65 years, the amount of self-harm and suicide, and I've shared that on my channel before. So I would encourage you to go through my channel if you haven't heard these stories and just do a search. Again, appreciate every one of you for being here. Thank you guys for watching, and please be kind to each other. Take care of yourselves. Love, light, and blessings. Have a good weekend. It's pouring here. It has been for days. Bye.